What happens to the human mind when you live through the time of war, when you watch your own nation enter into a state that you truly believe is evil? Just 2 short years after the First World War, director Robert Wiene of Germany would finish production on a film that would change the history of cinema forever. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the film that would create the birth of storytelling and visual substance as we know it today. A deep dive into the mind of a madman. The film tells the classic story of a mastermind and a henchman. The mastermind being Dr. Caligari, as he puts his sleepwalking henchmen to work to kill people in the town. However, this all falls apart when the monster falls in love with the woman who he was sent to kill. This is the classic story of Beauty and the Beast, creating a trope that we'd see be done time and time again. Whether it was the Universal Monsters or King Kong, we would see this Beauty and the Beast trope be done over and over, and this is all because of this film. Now, like many influential films, there is a reason they are influential. If this film was not made the way it was, it would not have been anywhere near as impactful. The use of set design and shadow makes this film prevail in an era of realistic sets and no focus on shadow. This film is devoured by shadow. It paints shadow on the sets. It uses it to its fullest potential. Not just the shadow, but the sets themselves. Most of the sets are simply hand-painted or done this way to save money, but would become some of the most important set designs of all time, creating an entire movement in film history known as German Expressionism. Wiene uses the sets as another character in the film, as they tell a story in themselves, a story of madness. At the end of the day, that is what the film is truly about, the mind of a madman. The entirety of the film is told in a flashback, as we start with 2 characters sitting on a bench, and the lead character begins to tell his story. However, we end the film at the same bench, only now it is revealed that the character is in an insane asylum, and the director of the asylum is who he believes to be Caligari. The film allows the viewer to interpret what they just witnessed, and to take a side of the story. It gives the viewer their own option after presenting all the information we need. This leaves us feeling 2 unique things. One is that we are also mad, just the same way the character feels. The set design is intentionally strange and out of this world to invoke this very feeling of madness and to place us into a world that makes no sense, because this is how Wiene and the rest of Germany felt after World War I. Through the characters, we can feel the same way. The other feeling that we are left with is helplessness, a feeling that we have no control over those in charge of our fate, and that we are destined to be helpless. This film was made in between dictatorships in Germany, and the main villain of the film is a powerful man who is able to hypnotize an entire audience, the same way that villains of history were able to hypnotize an entire country into being evil, something Germany would be all too familiar with in this time period. Through the use of filmmaking tactics that were not yet popularized, and the game-changing set design of the film, Robert Wiene gave us a film that would change history, a film that would allow the viewer to look into the mind of a man who had felt the effects of the war, not just the war itself, but the losing side of the war. The very reason this film was so influential is because of the sheer vulnerability of the director on full display. This film would change cinema for the better and influence the view of war for years to follow. All done with an immersive experience of madness.